Have any of you seen the terrible reviews of our country's national parks? I love these so much. There was an article last winter in Outside magazine where the author collected some of his favorites from Yelp and TripAdvisor and Reddit. And here are two from national parks I have been to, so I have seen their beauty firsthand. This is for Shenandoah National Park, a 1-star review on TripAdvisor. It was a mountainous area with trees and some nice shrubs, but unfortunately it wasn't that entertaining. From the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is utterly stunning, there was this 1-star review also from TripAdvisor. Some of the waterfalls and streams had nothing but toddlers peeing and pooing in the water. The artist and illustrator Amber Scher used more of these 1-star reviews in her recent project called Subpar Parks. She actually made a poster, a series of posters with illustrations of each park's distinctive, breathtaking, jaw-dropping natural features with an exact quote from a 1-star review lettered on it. So the one for Yosemite reads, Kevin, can you just hand me my water? Rather than try to, thank you. So the one for Yosemite reads, trees block view and there are too many gray rocks. The one for Arches National Park looks nothing like the license plate. I know. Here's Yellowstone's. Save yourself some money. Boil water at home. Bryce Canyon's ugly, ugly, ugly is all I have to say. And the one for Hot Springs National Park, don't waste your time unless you're really, really into hot springs. So you can imagine my delight when I ran across a similar kind of article on the very tongue-in-cheek website McSweeney's, titled Selective Negative Teaching Evaluations of Jesus Christ by Amanda Lair, who also happens to find her home in Jesus, as Anne Lamott puts it. Every single one is hilarious, but here are a couple of my very favorites. Very inconvenient class, always holds lectures on top of mountains in middle of Sea of Galilee, never close to main campus. He's nice enough, I guess, but he doesn't vet his teaching assistants. They all provide completely different, conflicting lecture notes. Tip, try to get in Luke's section. Not what I expected. They say his area of specialty is carpentry, but we never built anything the entire semester. I really wanted to like this class, but on the first day he submerged us in a river instead of going over the syllabus, and it was kind of a lot. Doesn't respect students' time. A line of us had been waiting outside his office for over an hour. He finally showed up and said, "The last shall be first." Started seeing us in reverse order. Tells too many stories, easy to get him off track during lectures. Feels like a class for farmers. Hope you like talking about seeds. Wheat seeds, mustard seeds, seeds. And finally, I think he only got this job because his dad's important. It is a very serious part of my job description to try to get you to laugh. especially in times like these, when life is very lifey. Life is about as lifey as it gets. So in that spirit, my husband told me a story a couple of years ago that was one of the funniest and most useful stories I've ever heard in my life. I told you the story about 5 years ago, but some of you weren't here then, and some of you may have missed it, and I actually find I need regular reminders of this one. The story was about an office assistant of a friend of his, someone he knew decades ago, who had left her job. And after she left the job, her coworkers found an enormous file in her desk drawer stuffed full of all kinds of papers. There were printouts of emails, there were memos, there were phone messages, there were insurance forms, and the folder was labeled neatly in typed capital letters, "Too hard." Apparently, whenever some piece of work came to her that she didn't know how to deal with, or she felt overwhelmed by, or she just didn't have time for, she put it in the "too hard" file. Can you even imagine the relief of this? Emails you don't know how to answer, you can never get to, just put them in the "too hard" file. People who are unhappy with you for reasons you either don't understand or cannot change, "too hard" file. Sorting the piles of papers that are teetering on your desk right now. Dealing with the accumulation of stuff molding in your basement, "too hard" file. Really, there's so much of life that could go into the "too hard" file. All of the issues, which are huge and overwhelming and impossible, not just in our lives, but in the world. Airstrikes in Gaza and now near Lebanon. The next now 17 days until the presidential election, and the fear and the dread of what'll happen next. Climate catastrophe, wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes, everything that keeps us awake in the middle of the night, put it in the "too hard" file. In the face of all that is too hard, laughter is one of the most important things we have. Our senses of humor are one of the most powerful tools we have for dealing with the sorrow and confusion and trouble and chaos that life throws our way. Humor just helps us make our way through. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about mocking laughter, or laughter that belittles or judges or is cruel. I'm talking about the other kind. The kind that recognizes just how absurd this life can be, just how absurd we can be. The kind that helps us not take ourselves too seriously, especially when things around us are very serious. That kind of laughter is healing. Anne Lamott says 3 really important things about humor. First, that laughter is carbonated holiness. It helps us breathe again and gives us back to ourselves. And this gives us faith in life and in each other. In other words, laughter is life-giving and it is sacred. The 14th century Persian poet Hafez believed the same thing. He wrote, "What is laughter? Laughter is God waking up." The theologian Martin Buber believed that God, or the sacred, is found in the connections between us. He wrote, "When two people relate to each other authentically and honestly, God is the electricity that surges between them. If this is true, and I believe that it is, then God is in laughter too, because almost nothing connects us like laughing together. Anne Lamott also writes, "Rest and laughter are the most spiritual and subversive acts of all." In fact, the Catholic Church considered laughter so subversive and dangerous that it banned laughter for centuries in services, even though both God's laughter and our laughter is mentioned throughout Hebrew and Christian scriptures. But when we laugh, control slides free. And maybe the church didn't want that. Laughter gives us perspective. There's something about laughter that opens a window and lets some light and air into things. Laughter right sizes things, and that can change everything. And finally, Anne Lamott says that almost every one of us is flailing through this life without an owner's manual. She talks about missing that day in 4th grade when they handed them out. I don't think I was there. She says that maybe all we can do is make our remaining time here as full of gentleness and humor as we can possibly manage. This condition of being human is so serious. It involves so much confusion and embarrassment and awkwardness and pain. And most of us are doing the best we can most of the time. And laughter can help us remember that. And I think laughter helps us to be a little gentler, a little more forgiving with one another, and especially with ourselves. I find that laughter is much easier for me now when I do something idiotic or embarrassing than when I was younger. It helps me just bypass those harsh, critical voices in my head that say things like, "Are you kidding me? You left your cup of coffee on the roof of the car and drove away again? Wondering why the person behind you is honking frantically again as you look up and see the cup fly away trailing a long brown arc of hot coffee again?" Now I'm way more likely to just laugh and stop at the next Dunkin's. Many of you know that my son Caleb has become extremely politically, socially, and religiously conservative. It is very hard for me. I sometimes wonder if God has decided that I don't have enough character yet. But on my better days, I know that Caleb's life choices are his own. They're not a reflection of me, even though I worry that you will think they are. Sometimes I even remember that his conservatism and his support of people and positions and causes I find truly painful and bewildering is actually a gift to me, because it requires me to practice what I believe in every single day, which is that I can love him more than anything he believes in. I'm pretty sure he loves me that way too, but I would be lying to you if I said this was easy. But it is laughter that saves us over and over again. This week he reminded me that he would be needing a ride to the polls to vote on election day. I reminded him that our votes would cancel each other's out, and then idly suggested aloud that people who are hoping their mothers might help them buy their first car soon might want to consider such things as who they vote for. Was that wrong of me? So then he quoted this line from Samuel Adams at me almost verbatim, and I had to look it up. Let each citizen remember at the moment he is offering his vote that he is executing one of the most solemn trusts in human society, for which he is accountable to God and his country, and not his mother. I added that last part, Caleb said, and both of us started laughing, and we found each other once again. Brian Doyle wrote, "We're only here for a minute. We are here for just a little window. And to use that time to catch and share shards of light and laughter. That seems to me the greatest story."